everyone. This is Emily at Happiness and Books. Today I'm going to go over with you everything I've selected off my shelves to read for the month of March. I believe I have 8 or 9 titles. My usual is to read 3 books every 10 days, and I break up those 3 books over 10 days, take the number of pages, divide it by 10 days, and that's how many pages I read per day so I can achieve that goal. So I selected everything from a little bit of a Western, book of the month, fantasy, a romance, and a middle grade, a special edition as well, a little variety. The last 2 months I've mostly been reading, winter fiction, wintry reads, and holiday fiction before that, and then spooky reads in October, November. So I'm really excited just to kind of get into starting to read a mix of everything. So let's get started. The first book I want to talk about today is this one. It is Entwined by Heather Dixon. I have read Heather Dixon before. She is the author of one of my absolute favorite gorgeous Nutcracker retellings, which is The Enchanted Sonata. Absolutely beautiful book. Ugh, love it so much. It's really a tie between Kingdom of Sweets and Midnight in Everwood. All are very different retellings of the Nutcracker. But The Enchanted Sonata is absolutely amazing, and I'm excited to read this. She also wrote the book Illusionarium, which is kind of another magical fantasy as well. Have not read that one, actually, so it's on the shelf somewhere behind me. So this one is a retelling of The 12 Dancing Princesses. And it's supposed to be really sort of iridescent and magical and a little glamorous with all the gowns and everything, and maybe a little bit of a telling of romance in there. But Heather Dixon is a very detailed, descriptive writer, which is the kind of reading I really enjoy. Just lavish world building with sort of juicy, vibrant details of everything around you. Sight, sense, smell, taste, touch, visual. So this one says it's about Azalea should feel that everything before her beautiful gowns, dashing suitors, balls filled with dancing is taken away, all of it. She is trapped. The keeper understands. He's trapped too, held for centuries within the walls of the palace. So he extends an invitation every night. Azalea and her 11 sisters may step through the enchanted passage in their room to dance in his silver forest. But there is a cost. The keeper likes to keep things. Azalea may not realize how tangled she has become. And again, we're going to get into this. Obviously, this silver forest is going to be just dazzling and magical and sparkling, and I cannot wait to read it because she has just this most lovely, just world building that just pulls you in and makes you feel like you want to be there. So I'm really excited about reading this. And I will link below every book here where you can pick it up if you want to read along with me on Amazon on whatever the current best price is. I want to talk about, I've chosen to read The House on Mango Street. I've been wanting to read this for a long time. It is a middle grade read, but it is a 1984 absolute classic, modern classic representation of Mexican American literature and Chicana literature, and in fact it was on the New York Times bestseller list for a long time. It has won major literary awards, including the American Book Award, and it's kind of written in this series of vignettes from the perspective of a 12-year-old girl named Esperanza. So obviously it takes place in the Latin Quarter of Chicago. And it's a small read, so I can easily sort of fit this in with my regular monthly book reads. By the way, her last name is I don't know if I can pronounce it, but it's Sandra Cisneros. Anyway, told in a series of vignettes, stunning for their eloquence, The House on Mango Street is her greatly admired novel of a young girl growing up in the Latin section of Chicago. Acclaimed by critics, beloved by children, their parents and grandparents, taught everywhere from inner city schools to universities. And I first came across this on my 100 classics of children's literature to read for one of my graduate projects, my thesis project. I didn't actually get to this one because there's so many to choose from that I had to read. So I have a pile of books, children's literature that is noteworthy that I haven't gotten to read, which are on another shelf you can't see here, but this is one I pulled from there. So I am excited to read this. It's a small read. It's supposed to be really just luminous and rich in cultural detail and just true to heart, pulling on the heartstrings of the experience of this girl. So noteworthy, definitely. I had to pull a book from my Barnes & Noble 100 Greatest Classics. Generally, I can't read one of these in 1 month because they're so massive. So I pulled a smaller one, which is Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. And you can see, or Hesse, And this is a classic written in 1922 by, it was published in Germany and written in German originally, so obviously it's going to be translated. But it's an Indian novel that is really about from what I've reviewed and understand, a journey of self-discovery in the time of Buddha. So it's really written more ancient setting, I guess, but written in 1922. There is a hair in my eye. It's driving me absolutely bonkers. It's like down my eye. Anyway, so it's about the Indian Siddhartha, who goes on a journey, like I said, of self-discovery and discovers enlightenment along the way. There's supposed to be a lot of lyrical prose and deeper insight to really analyze and philosophy in there to look at, which I really do enjoy those kind of stories because I like to put in my own meaning and interpretation of it. I don't know a lot beyond that, but I can read you a little blurb here. Born into a wealth and privilege, Siddhartha renounces his place among India's nobility to wander the countryside in search of meaning. He learns suffering and self-denial among a group of ascetics before meeting the Buddha and coming to realize the true peace cannot be taught. It must be experienced. So this will be a really, really small, so I could read it slowly. I could really think about everything that comes up in this book. So I'm going to get to this probably in the first part of January. I'm excited because I can actually read this one in a month and I don't have to overlap it through several months like all my other massive classics. To read a special edition. I don't remember where I got this. I think it was Owl Crate. Might have been Fairy Loot. I'll look it up and post it in the comments below. This is over 1 million copies sold. The Delargut Dream Department Store by Mayim Lee. You can see here my lovely painted edges of the department store. And this is a shorter book, but it is a fantasy. And I love the sort of comic-y look on the back of it, or the strip layout of it. Kind of an easy read. From what I understand, this is the department store of dreams, where dreamers go. The currency, you can go in there and buy new dreams. The currency are your emotions and the emotions you have upon waking from past dreams. So you have a dream, you woke up with certain emotions like fear or happiness or joy or arousal, and those emotions you can buy another dream. So it's the dream store for dreamers, where you can experience, it almost seems like a shopping mall where you can go to escape and go into like virtual reality is kind of the impression that I'm getting. But I don't know much about it, but it's supposed to be very magical and lovely and like a great escapism book and a very unique concept. What if there was a store that sold dreams? Which would you buy? And who might you become when you wake up? In a mysterious town hidden in our collective subconscious, there's a department store that sells dreams. Day and night, visitors, both human and animal, shuffle in to purchase their latest adventure. Each floor specializes in a specific type of dream. Childhood memories, food dreams, ice skating dreams, stardom, flying dreams are almost always sold out. Some seek dreams of loved ones who have died. For Penny, an enthusiastic new hire, working at Delargut is the opportunity of a lifetime. I'm not going to give more away. There's obviously going to be a non-special edition of this available. This book was pretty pricey, but I will link below the Amazon regular edition. And then if this is still available, that could be sold out. It's been a while since I got it. I will link the special edition as well. I've chosen a book from my New York Times 100 Greatest Modern Century Classics. I've been reading one per month. I have about 20 of them. I'm adding to my collection, reading one a month, because my goal was to read them all. I'm going to have to pick that up and do 2 a month, or it's going to take me 5 years to read them all. So this is The Days of Abandonment, and her last name is pronounced Ferrante, Elena Ferrante. It was written in 2002 in Italian and then published in English in 2005. Vice versa. This is an Italian novel. So yeah, it was Italian, then changed to English. So anyway, so this is sort of I don't want to say feminist story. It is a story that all women in midlife can probably relate to. The story is about Olga, who after 15 years of marriage, and this is about her life in Turin, but she is suddenly left by her husband for another woman. And after 15 years of marriage, just no warning, just up and go, and you're out. He's in love with another woman, And so she's left with the kids and the dog and the house and the bills and everything. And it's all about her identity crisis, her need for the abandonment, the grief, the plight of rebuilding her life in middle age, of the self-esteem destruction, of the inner turmoil that is experienced through like a midlife crisis and or a severe loss, such a loss that involves betrayal and no warning. And this author is really known to write book stories that show the plight of the internal turmoil that exists in women, and really touches home with that, with just the emotional description, showing how that inner turmoil manifests physically in behaviors, in actions, through dialogue. Just really, I think a lot about like Kate Chopin, The Awakening, and I think about, how she was in an unhappy marriage and suicidal, and the monotony of, and how well of the monotony of her life was shown in that classic novel. But so really this is going to show that experience. And I mean, I've kind of been there in this position, sort of, some variations, but I myself have a history of abandonment through, friends and death and, yes, boyfriends and being ghosted and all kinds of other things. So this is going to be really interesting to see. One of the reasons that made the greatest classics, the 100 greatest modern classics list, is because of the raw ability that the author has to, what's a good word, like display what goes on inside of we who are abandoned or suffering that isn't often shown to the outside, like the internal emotional war. So I'm really excited about this. I just finished two, January, February, I'm going to talk about in my What I Read videos. That one is phenomenal. One was like, oh my good Lord, like kind of a response. So I will get to the book of the month. I just showed this in my book of the month haul, a video that I released a few days back. So I'm not even sure that I released that video. I filmed it a couple days ago. I had a big book of the month haul. I don't know if I released that yet. I don't know which of these two is going to be released first. Anyway, I'm catching up on my videos. I've been behind because I've been remodeling the house. So this is something different for me. It's kind of a Western theme, and it was the book of the month. If you can see, where's the book of the month? Book of the month, book of the month. Oh, there it is. It is The Bullet Swallowed by Elizabeth Gonzalez James, and it has maybe a little Lonesome Dove feel. So I'm really interested in this. 1895, Antonio Sonaro is the latest in a long line of ruthless men. He's good with his gun and drawn to trouble, but he's out of money and out of options. A drought has ravaged his town of Dorado, Mexico, where he lives with his wife and children. And when he hears about a train laden with it, with his younger brother Hugo in tow, he decides to go on the heist and, steal. So then we switch over. This is kind of a flip back and forth, kind of like the Book of Witching, which is a fantastic book of the month book, Halloween read. It goes back and forth. That book goes back and forth from the present day to the 1600s, Orkney Islands. But this one goes to 1964. Back and forth from 1895 to 1964. Jamie Sonaro is Mexico's most renowned actor and singer, but his comfortable life is disrupted when he discovers a book that purports to tell the entire history of his family, beginning with Cain and Abel, all the way to 1895 Mexico, and the shame that comes with that event, realizing that he's related to what happened in Mexico with these bandits. I guess we'll find out. I don't know. That's about all I know. But I just love kind of the cover, and I just think it's fun that there's still modern day books being published that are Westerns, that are not just the older classics like The Lonesome Dove or anything by Larry McMurtry or Blood Meridian or anything like that. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be a real easy read. I can't wait to talk about it as well. I have chosen a book written in 1994. That is by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who wrote Love in the Time of Cholera and many, many other books. He is a Colombian author. Books originally written in Spanish, translated to English. And this is along the lines of many of his classics. I actually have, honestly, never read any of his actual books. I've seen representations and things in cinema or media, or read glimpses and quotes and things like that, but I've never read a whole work, and I wanted to start with this one because it's small. I got it used at Goodwill. But this book, and it takes place in a Cartagena, and it's funny, when I hear Cartagena, I think of Romancing the Stone with Michael Douglas, and when they're supposed to meet in Cartagena, when they get separated and the car ends up in the river, going down the river, and they end up in the town together, meeting up, and that's when they first, hook up or sleep together. Anyway, I don't know why I went off on that digression. So anyway, this is about a young girl who, in her town of Cartagena, gets bitten by a rabid dog. And things go awry, things don't go well. She ends up getting sent to a nunnery school. Yay. I don't know how those two correlate together. And I believe she's young. I think from what I read, she was like 13, 14 or something. But anyway, so somehow she goes there to be redeemed, and she actually falls in love with, or the pastor there falls in love with her. And it's kind of a forbidden romance. So I'm kind of like, oh Lord, how's that going to turn out? I have no idea. But I know that from the story, from what I have read, I know that Gabriel Marquez has a history of writing about love stories that are taboo, which is a common theme in many of his books. Forbidden love, love stories that ignite transgressions amongst families, or big no-nos, a lot of crossing boundaries and crossing societal norms. So it'll be really interesting to see how that manifests in this story. And I figured, I'll start here. I believe, didn't he write Shadow of the Wind? I think he did, which is like more of a Gothic novel. I think he did. I have to double check that. Anyway, so that is what it looks like. I got it used, but you can get it on Amazon at a really good price. And I will be, of course, talking about this and what I read in March video. All right, so last I chose A Woman in Black, or The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. I have to get in my monthly horror Gothic read, my favorite genre of all, even though it's not spooky season. This is a 1983? Yeah, early 1980s, Gothic horror. It's supposed to be extremely chilling, extremely spooky. Qualifies for Gothic because we have it's a ghost story. We have the Gothic settings as far as where the novel takes place. And we have the kind of the weather that matches. We have the heightened sense of emotions and fear and the sublime. We also have here a ghostly woman. So, of course, it's the perfect Gothic novel. And this has actually been adapted into a movie and plays. And in fact, this book is often used as a guide in how to do a set and a play. So it's known for set direction. They refer to this as far as setting up the perfect scene for a ghostly tale or a spooky tale. So it's been used by like Broadway and high schools and a lot of other places for set direction kind of guidance. And so it takes place in an English town where things go awry. I can read you a little bit of the back if you'd like. Arthur Kipps, a junior solicitor, is summoned to attend the funeral of Mrs. Alice Drablow, the sole inhabitant of Marsh House, unaware of the tragic secrets which lie behind the sheltered windows. The house stands at the end of a causeway, wreathed in fog and mystery, but it's not until he glimpses a wasted young woman dressed all in black at the funeral that a creeping sense of unease begins to take hold, a feeling deepened by the reluctance of the locals to talk about the woman in black and the terrible purpose of her being there. So just the description, you can feel the Gothic oozing off the page, like the fog, the mist, the castle or a manor house that's like kind of with eerie, dark, castle-y, old, broken down, not taken care of kind of a quality, and the mystery woman. So already we can just see why this would qualify as a Gothic novel. I have not read anything by Susan Hill. I'm interested in getting into this book. I think it's going to be great. So that is it. Those are my books for March. I will be reading, and I will discuss each and every one in April, what I read in March. I have a video coming up, what I read in January, February. January was pretty slow because I had medical stuff going on and a remodel. My son was moving out. I had to go into the empty nest and all that not fun stuff. Not real fun, actually. And so But I had a couple, and then I added in with my February, and I will do one video of everything I read together. In fact, there was even an overlay of something I read in December. That's how behind I am. So thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and keep an eye out for what I read.